Hello everyone, and welcome back. Alright, I heard that collective groan from all of you that know what's coming here, but stick with me. Due to it being back in the mainstream conversation and no one really having good information on the topic, as well as a poorly executed video on the topic that misled a lot of individuals, I think I need to circle back and really make it clear for people who might be on the fence the exact value of gold. Now, a disclaimer before we get started, just to save some people their time. If you enjoy the physical act of mining gold, nothing in this video is going to change your mind, and I'm not trying to. If the reason you're mining gold is the act of mining gold is the reward, there's nothing that anyone should say to change your mind on that. If that's how you enjoy playing the game, great. That being said, if that is your position on the topic, I still would like you to watch the video so that you could have in some intelligent discourse in the comments beyond, I just like mining gold, shut up. Before we get into the body of the video, I want to make something incredibly clear. The value of gold depends on your objective when playing the game. If the only thing you want is to make the amount of credits that you get in total go up, and you don't care about your level, your time efficiency, crafting minerals, or anything else at all, you should mine gold. However, if you want to level and get credits, or you want to level, get credits, and crafting minerals, or get levels, get credits, and repeat max level promotions, then you really need to listen to the information in this video. At its core, yes, the most credits you can possibly get from each mission is mining all the gold. But the most credits and XP you can get over the same amount of time benefits greatly from ignoring 90% of the gold. And if you watched my previous video on the topic, you'll know that I supplement this slightly lower value received from gold by selling a small increment of crafting minerals. We'll go into the exact value of selling crafting minerals in a moment, but the emphasis I want to apply is that rather than seeking out gold rush missions, or hanging up your lucky charms to try to summon a Crass Detonator, you should be focusing on mineral manias instead. So first, let's go over some numerical information on the value of gold and crafting minerals. On screen, you'll see the equation for finding the value of a piece of gold in any mission. It's hard to know exact numbers just when you're running through, but you can make rough estimations based on the hazard level you're playing, mutators that you have, and the length of complexity of the mission. All of this gets us to find C, which is the total credit value. And now we'll go over the calculations to find the amount of minerals that you'll get. And in this case, for the sake of this video, how many credits you'll get from those minerals. Likewise, it's very similar in that hazard scaling plays a role. We're doing this to find credits, and the only real piece of information we need is the hazard bonus and how many minerals we get from a mission. So, as we can see here, and this might kind of tip some of you off to what the result is going to be, is the multiplication factor is much higher on crafting minerals. While the largest external number input we get for gold is 2, being the value of each unit of crafting minerals gets a multiplicative value of 50. And like I said, this is quite telling for what the result is going to be. So let's go over a practical example. Full disclosure, this isn't going to be accurate in every situation, as it's a randomly generated game, but I tried to find 2 clips that are very similar in time scale for collecting an amount of minerals and an amount of gold. So as you can see, this is one clip collecting crafting minerals and one clip collecting gold, and they ended at almost exactly the same time, and had about the same amount of time dedicated to their collection. From this, we get 16 jadiz, and 23 gold. So now moving on to the end of said mission, we're not really paying attention to the actual ending values for gold and crafting minerals so much as just the hazard bonus. We're going to carry forward the numbers we got before, which is 23 gold and 16 minerals. But the most important factor is that 168% for hazard scaling bonus. So now we're going to take our gold equation and plug the numbers we got from that mission into it. As you can see on the left, we have the base value of each unit of gold, which is 23 times 2, and on the right we have the bonus that we get from hazard scaling. Running all this math all the way through, we get 123.28 credits, and that will round down to 123. Next we'll go over the mineral calculations. Just like the gold calculations, we plug in our mineral number, plug in our hazard scaling bonus, and thankfully we don't have to separate this as the hazard scaling adds before the credit multiplication. But in the end we get 2,144 credits from this. And since this would round up, due to the units of minerals being round, we have to round up to 2,150. So, I mean, just off the bat, where does that leave us? Well, we took about the same amount of time to mine that gold as we did the crafting minerals, yet the crafting minerals yield about 20 times as much credits. So this kind of rolls me into the first major argument people are going to have against this strategy, which is, I don't want to sell crafting minerals because I might need them. Well, let me put it to you this way. We just got 20 times as many credits from selling the proportional amount of time in crafting minerals versus gold. So we don't have to sell all of those crafting minerals. In this situation, we would only have to sell around 5% of our crafting minerals to make up for the gold that we skipped. And if we sold 10%, we would have about twice as much as the gold that we skipped. So it's really not about whether or not gold itself is worth the time. It's about if gold is worth your time at all in the vast scheme of things compared to other systems. Because yeah, if you just put a vein of gold in front of you and say, if I mine this, I get 100 credits, that sounds great. But whenever you say, hey, if you pick up that jadiz over there and put it in the mule, you'll get over 2,000 credits. It's all about perspective, and that's really not a view that a lot of people have on this topic. It's not about how much gold is worth, it's about how much more easily you can get those credits by doing something else. Because credits only have value up until the point that you need to spend them. Once you establish yourself, get your upgrades, get all your overclocks, and I don't mean to be dismissive, this does take a very long amount of time, but once you do those things, the only thing that you realistically need to spend credits on is repeating promotions. And even if you're not at max level repeating promotions, it's all about doing promotions. So what this all boils down to is, don't waste your time getting more credits than you need. By mining gold, you are committing to getting credits without knowing if you're going to need them. By selling crafting minerals, you have a liquid asset that you can turn into credits at any time when you need it. Yes, you will need minerals, but you do need strikingly more credits than minerals for most things. And yes, some people will be low on certain mineral types, but the remedy for that is playing more missions and finding more minerals. No amount of gold mining is going to solve that problem for you. And obviously, if you're low on a certain type of mineral, you will want to sell the other types of mineral. So many times I've seen people take screenshots of themselves saying, oh, I'm so low on magnite, meanwhile they have around thousands to almost 10,000s of things like umanite or crappa. It's different for every player based on what biomes you play, but I hope you understand my point in that if you're low on one mineral type, it doesn't mean you shouldn't sell minerals. It means that you should focus on getting that mineral back, and then whenever you need credits, sell the type that you have an excess of. Now, going back to that mission results screen that we had earlier, let's look at some gross numbers instead of the minute stuff. Now, as you see, we got 289 jadiz and 147 bismore. However, in actuality, we only actually collected 108 jadiz and 55 bismore in the mission. The result that we're seeing in front of us is due to hazard scaling. This means that in reality we only mined around 160 units of these minerals in total, but as we can see here, adding those together to 436 and multiplying them by their sell value, that's worth 21,800 credits. This means for around 160 minerals mined, we got over 20,000 credits worth of value. As far as time efficiency goes, this is as good as it gets. But let's also pay attention to the gold that we got from this mission, as I intentionally mined all of the gold I could find. 428 units of gold, which is around 3 times as much actual mining as we did for the crafting minerals, yields us 2,294 credits. But this is one of those things that we talked about before. If we look at it in a vacuum, then sure, 2,300 credits sounds pretty good for 400 gold. But when you realize that you can mine a third of the amount of gold in crafting minerals and receive 10 times as much in credits, it really isn't worth your time. Now let's show some of the best examples from either end of the spectrum that I have in recent memory. We're also going to start incorporating time now. This took 15 minutes and 42 seconds and yielded 33,050 credits in minerals. Now let's look at a best case scenario for gold. This was a pots of gold rush, since I know you can't tell from this screen, but we ended up with 2,282 gold, which came out to 12,460 credits. Now an important note to be made here that I took note of while I was streaming this is that I was ready to leave at 9 minutes and 45 seconds. However, due to the input conditions that I was there to mine all of the gold with pots of gold, that took me an additional 16 minutes and 15 seconds. So 16 minutes alone were directly dedicated to acquiring 12,000 credits worth of gold. Do you know what else took me 16 minutes? Getting 30,000 credits worth of minerals. So more than twice the value of the gold mined in this mission was obtained in the same amount of time from a mineral mania. And once again, if I had not wanted to sell those minerals, I wouldn't have to. And I could have kept them for a time when I was prepared to sell them or needed them to craft upgrades. So this really begins to beg the question of why you should ever bother mining gold whenever a random mineral mania mission that you play a couple of days from now will be worth significantly more than the gold you'll mine in an entire day of playing. So if you can kind of understand the numbers and the rationale there, you're going to start to see where I'm coming from. But let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit. Next thing I want to talk about is Hoarders, as they're relevant to both gold and minerals. I killed 10 Hoarders on Hazard 1, and they averaged out to 33 of one mineral type, 40 of the other, 34 gold, and 107 minerals and gold in total. On Hazard 5, killing 10 Hoarders averaged out to 36 of one mineral type, 33 of the other, 37 units of gold, and also 107 of all averaged out. So I'm not entirely sure why one mineral type was 40 on Hazard 1. I think this might have just been a fluke of RNG, and if I had killed 30 or 40 Hoolies, this probably would have evened out, but that's pretty comprehensive on Hoarders. Obviously, if you see it, try to kill it. Next we'll talk about gold chunks. If anyone isn't clear, whenever you deposit a gold chunk, it rolls a random number between 150 and 250. This is how many units of gold you get for it. So I won't make you watch it again, but plugging that into the best possible scaling equation, a 150 gold chunk will give you 999 credits, and with the best possible scaling, a 250 gold chunk will give you 1,665 credits. Take note that it is still less than a jadiz. Very depressing. And as far as bitter gems go, they work similar to all other mineral types in that it takes the base value of what you get, multiplies it by the hazard scaling, and then adds it again to the base value. Much like gold chunks, bitter gems roll between 1,000 and 1,500. With the best possible scaling, a 1,000 bitter gem will give you 3,300 credits, and the best possible bitter gem, a 1,500, with the best possible scaling, will give you 4,995 credits. None of this has a ton of relevance to the conversation at hand. Obviously, you should always mine gold chunks, bitter gems, and kill Hoarders. I just had all these math equations up, and we're already on the topic, so I thought it would be nice to lay out these numbers here as well. Next, we'll kill two birds with one stone in talking about Crass Detonators and the EPC. First of all, Crass Detonators. If you do not have a fat boy engineer with an excess of nitra, a driller with satchel charges with an excess of nitra, or a driller with EPC, don't even mess with Crass Detonators. It's just a trap and a waste of your time. If you have pots of gold and you get a Crass Detonator, I would be very careful about how much time you spend trying to mine that gold, depending on the mission type that you're in. If you're in a mission type that has swarms progressively over time, like point extraction, mining missions, then you might end up failing that mission because of that. It's going to take an extreme amount of time to deal with a pot's Crass Detonator. That being said though, if you have a fat boy engineer, a driller with satchel charges, or a driller with EPC, you can realistically tear Crassus down fast enough to make it worth the time. Do this in moderation, of course. Don't get every little scrap off the walls, get some clean meat shots, clean it up, and move on. You can still easily get over 1,000 gold in a couple of minutes doing this, as long as you're skilled. So as long as you have one of these three things going for you, Crassus Detonators aren't a bad thing. And that rolls us straight into talking about EPC. EPC does half of the job to solve the problem with gold. Yes, it is good to blast gold off of the walls with EPC if you're confident that you can do it in one shot and that you have enough ammo to spare to get it done. But that being said, you're still going to be chasing those chunks of gold around the room at that rate. So while personally I will blast gold off of the walls with EPC, I don't deliberately go after the chunks and just try to pick them up if they're in my way while I'm working my way through the cave. So in actuality, EPC mining the gold does get you a little bit more gold, but don't fall into the trap of EPC mining it and then chasing the chunks around a massive room, because at that point you might as well just have put a pickaxe to it. That I really wouldn't recommend trying to EPC mine a vein of gold that you're not confident that you can get in one shot. As you're already committing a decent amount of ammo using a charge shot to mine gold, I wouldn't recommend using more than one. And the last thing is pots of gold. In most missions, pots of gold is just going to handicap you more than it actually benefits you. Like we talked about before, you can just run a Mineral Mania without a buff beer if you're looking to get that many credits from a single mission and just deliberately sell that quantity of minerals. Pots of gold just takes longer and is more inconvenient, clogs up your inventory more, and just takes more time to get that gold deposited. You'd just be better off looking for more minerals. But that's about all I have for you today. But that's not all I have for you on the topic of gold. I have a resource that I recently made that accurately accounts for all the upgrade costs and the progression path for Deep Rock Galactic, and we also need to go over that video that we mentioned at the beginning. So expect a part 2 to this video very soon. But just to recap what we went over. If you need credits, mine minerals. If you need minerals, mine minerals. If you want to mine gold, mine gold. But if you want anything valuable, don't waste your time with gold. If you'd like to join, become a YouTube member, get your name in the credits of every video, along with some other perks, you can hit the join button down below. If you'd like to catch me live, I stream over on Twitch. If you'd like to talk to me, ask for any more elaboration about this topic, or see some of my research and numbers behind the scenes, you can find me in my community over on Discord. And as always, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.